You're watching Daybreak on Arise News, and it's time for newspaper headlines with me, Benga Ashuru, here in Abuja, and Yolanda Roberts here with me, also in Abuja, and Vimbai Mutineri from the Commercial Nerve Center in Lagos. So, over to you, Yolanda.
Thanks a lot, Benga. Let's get straight into the headlines this morning, starting off with This Day newspaper. If we can pull that up, the front page says, Governor Mba revamps, upgrades Niger gas after 30 years dormancy. Now, Governor of Enugu State, Dr. Peter Mba, on Thursday unveiled Niger Gas Company Limited, revamped and upgraded by his administration after over 3 decades of dormancy. Now, this plant is to create 5,000 jobs, it says on the rider. Can we rely on the promises of an upgrade and this job creation of a staggering 5,000 people? Benga, what is your take and what are your thoughts on this?
Well, obviously another laudable initiative coming from the Enugu State Governor, Governor Peter Mba of Enugu State. Quite a very promising one, an audacious one, very ambitious outline, but it leaves one to wonder why a state that sits on such a promising treasury trove would wait for 3 decades. 1962, during the time of Governor Dr. Michael Okpara, may God bless his soul, and that went moribund for 3 decades, plunging the state or sustaining the poverty level of the state, so be it. And you think about the entire country, Nigeria, that sits on a 210 trillion cubic feet of gas reserve alone. It keeps increasing as the discovery goes on. And it's not about announcing this, it's about putting on the implementation structure that will drive this turnaround and ensure that the 5,000 workers job creation plan is achieved. 40 cubic feet of oxygen, about over 100 cubic feet of acetane. It's a very promising one. And that also shows that the governors should look away from rushing to Abuja at the end of every month to take handouts from the Federal Account Allocation Committee and think of ways where they can make the states lucrative. Attention should now be focused on the subnationals, what governors are doing at the subnationals. Just yesterday, the governor of Imo State announced increment of the minimum wage from 70,000 naira to 104,000 naira minimum wage, and that's quite laudable. So I think that what is most important is that at the governors' forum, which was held, I think, day before yesterday, where they said that there would be a desk to expand Nigeria's tourism potential, I think they should come up with a peer review mechanism where there should be a scale-up, a kind of platform that would drive reform agenda, that will drive initiative and thereby lead the country on the path of prosperity and growth.
Thanks, Benga. Stay with me on this, as I also want you to speak on this next headline. Still with This Day, NEC moves to fast-track $1 trillion economy, endorses renewed hope 5-year economic plan. Now, the plan aims to consolidate Nigeria's reform agenda and actualize the $1 trillion economy target of the administration of President Bola Tinubu. Now, the endorsement was the high point of the resolutions reached at the 151st meeting of the council. Benga, what's your take?
Yeah, for me, it's very depressing looking at the holistic picture coming up from the National Economic Council meeting that was held yesterday, announcing the status quo of the Nigeria's economy, 535,000 from the external reserve and about 100 billion naira, no, 74 billion naira from the from the stabilization fund, and about just a paltry 100 billion from the natural resource account. And when you look at it, it takes my mind back to about 21 years ago, during the time of President Obasanjo, when he initiated this excess crude account during the time of the oil windfall. I think oil, the price of oil per barrel skyrocketed to about $100 per barrel during that time, and he created this excess crude account to save the country from the shocks of the rainy day. And the governors came to him, and one of the agenda they used in bargaining a second-term agenda was that we need this money, and he said that this money is for the rainy day, and they said the rains are here. And the man was forced to release this money, and here we are now. We could see the statistics of the excess crude account crumbling to as low as $535,000. Meanwhile, the country is recording an all 3-year high foreign reserve of over $41 billion. So I think we cannot arithmetic our way or rebase our way out of poverty. The glaring reality is that poverty is still high. So we need to find not just a blueprint, but a very proactive blueprint that will drive the reforms on the path of economic prosperity and growth.
Right.
And also the subnationals, like what we have seen Peter Mba doing, and the governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma. More initiative is welcome at the subnational level. It's not just about the federal project or rushing to Abuja at the end of the month to take a share of the federal account and allocation committee. So that's my take.
Right. Thanks, Benga. Let's pull up the Punch now, where we have a tariff war. FG intervenes as states. Disco's rift deepens. Now, as the crisis between states and electricity distribution companies continue to degenerate over who has the power to fix electricity tariffs, the federal government, through the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NEC, has summoned all the stakeholders to a meeting scheduled for next week. Vimbai, with all this up and down with the electricity tariffs over the year, what is your opinion on this story?
All right. Now, of course, we know that the genesis of this particular rift is from July, when the Enugu Electricity Commission decided to reduce the tariffs in Enugu State from 209 naira to 160 naira. The Disco main power kicked back and said that, well, if the state reduces the tariffs to this, then main power will not be able to provide electricity. So what they did is they created blackouts following that decrease in the tariffs. Now, what does this highlight? It highlights that there's seems to be a bone of contention with regards to generation. So the discos are saying that this is cross-border electricity that is being generated from the national grid. So through the Electricity Act 2023, the states do not have the power to control the price of it because they do not generate it. Well, the states are saying the Electricity Act 2023 empowers us to regulate the cost and to consumer of power in our various states. So that's where the deadlock is. I think it's about interpretation of the law. I'm glad that the Electricity Act 2023 is being tested in this vein. And so now NEC has called all parties to the table to discuss this and attempt to resolve this. I think this is a very important development, whichever way it goes, because it's always important for us to be in a position to be able to test the law, especially a law as significant as Electricity Act 2023. We see various states are rolling out their electricity plans at a subnational level. So this will clear out any confusion that could potentially arise in future. I'm going to quickly take us back to this day newspaper because of that issue concerning the NEC and the Renewed Hope Economic Development Plan. So we know that Nigeria has done 6-year, 5-year development plans. This Renewed Hope 5-year economic plan is a follow-on from the National Development Plan of 2021 to 2025. Now, Minister Bagudu, in answering questions around this, acknowledged that the last economic development plan, that's the National Development Plan of 2021 to 2025, was not successful. I paraphrase what he said. Now, if you look at the SDGs, in terms of the goals set by the last 5-year plan, we were only able to do about 35%, to meet 35% of our targets. If you look at infrastructure, human capital, and so forth, we missed most of the targets. The minister is saying that he feels the previous administration did not have the political will to enforce the changes that needed to be done, the reforms that needed to happen in order for there to be, for example, an increase in GDP to the target. The target in that last 5-year plan had been 4.5 to 5%. So he's now saying that since President Tinubu's administration in 2023 instituted some of the reforms, the removal of subsidy, the liberalization of foreign currency, that he thinks that given this next 5-year plan is going to be more successful. I mean, the jury is going to be out on how that goes. We'll all be here by God's grace in the next 5 years to analyze the success of this particular 5-year plan. But I just thought it was important to contextualize the fact that, you know, this is a follow-on and they're coming from a place where the last plan itself is viewed widely as being generally unsuccessful.
Indeed, very well said. Now let's take the next story that's in The Guardian, and this story has been making the rounds, where kidnappers of Katsina couple and their daughter and demand of 600 million naira ransom is demanded. Now, for a bit of context to this, Anas Amadou, a 33-year-old man, and his family were kidnapped by gunmen on Tuesday at about 3 a.m. in the Kaura area in the state capital. Now, a source close to the family, the victim's family, says that the abductors were said to have called the members of the family on Wednesday evening before tabling their demand of 600 million. Vimbai, please come in again with this story and talk to us more about, you know, what you think about this situation. In recent times, we have had so many reports, especially by The Guardian, talking about how much ransom is being paid by Nigerians every year and how the amount keeps soaring higher and higher because our cases of kidnapping victims and insecurity in this type of regard just seems to be growing at an alarming rate.
It certainly is very concerning. I believe it was in yesterday's Guardian newspaper, you're correct, where they shared the SBM intelligence report that highlighted the number of fatalities, the number of abductions, which was over 4,000, and about 2.6 billion naira, if I'm not mistaken, that has been collected in ransom just in the last year alone. These are shocking numbers, and they continue to highlight our vulnerabilities where insecurity is concerned. They also highlight the fact that these evil players who perpetuate these crimes have created an economy for themselves, and it's really going to take a lot for us to dismantle this economy. You know, the government always talks about non-kinetic. You know, this is the type of insecurity that unfortunately you cannot drop a bomb on and wipe it out. This is something where you have to ensure that the communities are educated in being able to report when they see strange behavior. Our intelligence services as well, DSS, have been doing a fantastic job most recently with regards to fishing out some of these perpetrators, but clearly it's not enough. It's just too rampant and widespread. So I think the fundamental issue here is the economy around insecurity and how we can dismantle it, because it seems to be getting more deeply entrenched.
Thanks, Mumbai. Sorry, Benga. For the sake of time, let's quickly go into the international papers. Can we pull up The Independent, where PM Putin's strike on British target sabotages peace? Now, we have the same story on the front page of the International Guardian with the same photo story. Now, the Foreign Office summons Russian ambassador after massive drone and missile attacks, the second biggest of the war. And it has hit the British Council and the EU buildings in Kyiv, killing at least 19 people, 4 of them children. Now, all rules of war seem to be out of the window as the war crimes increase. Benga, do you have something to say on this?
Okay, seems like yesterday, but unfortunately it's now 3 years since the hostility broke out between Russia and Ukraine, and world leaders have tried to mediate. And I wonder if we can say who are the merchants of international warfare. US President Donald Trump keeps raising alarm of the fatality figure. I think that's one of the world's deadliest capitals so far. Now we've seen wanton destruction of lives, properties, and now it's now the politics of the ceasefire.
Right.
How would President Donald Trump, we saw him about a couple of weeks ago, having a bilateral meeting with Putin, and a red carpet was rolled out. Many in the diplomatic optics, that suggests a lot of things that are actually wrong in the process of a ceasefire. The European Union too have been crying out and going up in arms about the double standard being played in this, and it seems that like Kyiv is being compelled to accept, like an Hobson's choice, what is being offered in terms of the ceasefire deal, which many European diplomats are saying that the ceasefire deal looks very different from the peace deal. And we could see the flagrant disregard of Russia in mounting several attacks and now attacking several European facilities in Kyiv. And this seems that a ceasefire, if you look at the writings on the wall, is certainly far from sight.
Now let's look at one more international paper, but let it be an African story this time, I think. Let's pick The Citizen. Can we pull that up on the screen? And it says on the front, make sex work legal. Treat us like any other business, because that is what it is to us, says one of South Africa's 153,000 sex workers who opened up about the industry, an industry that brings in a massive 60 billion rand a year. Now, with proper channels to report abuse and violence, she hopes that activists will win their court battle to decriminalize sex work. It's just a way to survive, they say. Now, prostitution is often referred to as the oldest profession in the world. Countries in the West have long acknowledged this. Is it time for Africa to follow suit? Vimbai, what do you think?
Ooh, this is a tricky one.
Yes.
This is a tricky one.
Yes, it is.
You look at the numbers and you say, well, I mean, it's happening right under our noses. Clearly there are willing buyers and willing sellers. So why don't we legitimize it? Of course, it's a moral question. However, on a serious note, the sex workers are raising a serious point, which is that, they're seeking protection.
Right.
So, if they're seeking protection, maybe the government can also say, well, let's try and get taxes paid out of this. But I think all of this is also just symptomatic of the fact that the South African economy is going through a tough time at the moment, one of the toughest times that it has gone through in modern times. And, this is when many industries such as these do tend to flourish. So the question is, as Africans, should we just turn our moral eye aside for a moment to allow the ladies to flourish? Or should we maintain our moral high ground and allow this to continue to happen under the radar? Benga, I don't know. What do you think? Should we legalize sex work in South Africa?
It leaves me with...
You said yeah!
It leaves me with very... On a sincere note, it leaves me with very deep emotions watching the sights of African children, flowers of our land, and when you look at their rules of engagement, scampering into fast-moving traffic in a bid for survival. That is their mode of operation. That's their modus operandi. And we cannot allow this to subsist. We cannot allow the futures of our land to be subjected as if we have no intellectual option to survive. I think the African leaders need to come together. If there have been any law restricting or prohibiting this, the law should be stiffer. Human beings are first and foremost moral entities. And there is no way, just as in the words of the foremost philosopher, that every human being is entitled to his inviolable dignity, his inalienable liberty, and inescapable moral responsibility. We cannot afford to derail our sense of humanity.
Wow, indeed a sensitive topic there, with so many opinions, I believe, as well. But unfortunately, we don't have any more time to explore these options. That's all that we have for the newspaper review.
All right, well, that's all we have time for here on Daybreak. Such a pleasure hanging out with you guys. I wish you a fantastic weekend. I'm Vimbai Mutinide Ekweyon.
And I'm being Ashiru saying it's Friday and it looks like a payday. You could cruise into town and groove into some fun, make it a happy moment for yourself, and it's goodbye for me.
I'm Yolanda Robert. Please do keep it here on Rise News. The morning show is next. Goodbye.